6 Days in Fallujah was a video game scheduled to be released some years back and was canceled rather than being published as a result of some controversy that popped up surrounding whether or not it was appropriate to make a game covering the Second Battle of Fallujah. I've spoken about it a lot before, actually, on the channel. I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen when I talked about my thoughts on Squad's Fallujah map. And now we've learned that 6 Days in Fallujah isn't gone forever and that it is coming back. And they've published a trailer. And I've been waiting to watch the trailer for the last couple of days because I wanted to do it and react to it and provide some technical analysis of it and my initial thoughts on it without having my initial thoughts tainted by other people or having seen the trailer myself. So we're going to watch it now. I'm going to react to it. I'm going to give exactly that, a technical response to everything that I'm seeing, and then whether or not I think the game is looking good. But what I'd say going in, without addressing the controversy directly, is my expectation of any game that covers any real conflict or any real tragedy is that it does so in the most unbiased way possible, with a commitment to the facts as best as they possibly can be committed to, and with a empathy towards all humans impacted by the events. And so I'm hopeful that this medium, video games, is able to tell the story of the Battle of Fallujah in a way that brings credit to those deserving of credit, and that helps us, as a species and as participants and combatants in these conflicts, understand what happened and walk away with a more profound respect for it. And of course, that it's a badass video game. So with that in mind, let's take a look at the 4K trailer for 6 Days in Fallujah. Saddam statue going down.
Saddam had been captured. The Iraqi army scattered. Lawlessness and fear gave Az-Zarqawi his
Nick
moment,
Berg.
and he was prepared. They seized Fallujah, and the city was the first to suffer under their black banner.
These terrorists were armed to the teeth.
So right away, I appreciate that we started with people. We didn't go straight into really, high-speed gameplay. We're telling the story of the actual Battle of Fallujah. We saw the image of Saddam's statue coming down shortly after the march to Baghdad. We saw images of the country falling into lawlessness after the Iraqi army was disbanded. They identified that the Iraqi army being disbanded is one of the reasons that happened, because now you have this massive population of fighting-age males who are no longer employed. And if we looked at conflicts of the past, anytime that you make that decision, no good comes of it typically. Let's see who this guy is.
No one will fight against them.
It had to be stopped, or the country will turn over to Al-Qaeda.
So we skipped a lot of the run-up there to the Battle of Fallujah because, the invasion of Iraq occurred in March 2003. It took 21 days from the initial assault across the border until Baghdad had been reached. And now we've fast-forwarded basically a year, and we're on, days prior to the Battle of Fallujah, the Second Battle of Fallujah kicking off.
It was a fortress. It was a well-prepared.
We've got Cobras hovering in the background. Make that 3 closer together than you would expect to see. That famous mosque that we've seen in Squad's map that is reminiscent of, the real thing. Cell towers, really detailed scenery here. So first shot of the environment, and it looks, spectacular. Beautiful.
City buttressed, waiting for us to come.
The only way you can clear a city.
Okay, this is our first look at players. I've got 3 Marines in Marpat. First guy has goggles. They've all got flak vests with a groin protector. All 3 of them have on them, looks like a dump pouch. Lead man's got a bipod on his weapon. I believe it's an M16 2-man, also M16 3-man, M16. Tack lights are on them. Knee pads showing. That's kind of a weird choice. And the way that they're moving the stack, obviously there's some concerns with muzzle awareness and stuff, just the way these guys are moving down the street. But this is also a cutscene, so who knows?
You have to search every house. You have to search every room.
The shoulder tap on the way in, really, really cool. Like seeing that. Hopefully that's a mechanic that's in the game.
And you have to root out every insurgent.
That was a M16A2. It looked like no optics. So this is, old school 2004 Marine Corps, kind of what you expect to see.
We sustained hundreds and hundreds of casualties.
I like that we're talking to vets, like we're getting a firsthand account of what's going on. I hope, as controversial as it may seem, I hope that both sides were talked to in the creation of this game.
A third of my battalion was killed or wounded.
It was the bunkers they would build in.
Looking at this gun now. So yeah, we are getting M16. Looks like an A2. I'm not a super gun nerd, and I was not serving at this time, so someone will have to correct me if that's wrong. No optics, big old front sight post. It looks like, is that a flash suppressor? Someone tell me what that is on the barrel. That's, just not used to seeing it.
Inside houses.
Oh, okay, that's the tack light. It was just weird and offset.
And you would go in the house, it'd be all quiet, and then they would open up on you.
We're shooting downstairs. All right, so now we're seeing some CQB.
If they didn't hit you right away with a machine gun, they would draw you all the way back.
That's kind of cool. I mean, this guy's like standing in the threshold, like standing in the fatal funnel. But if you think you're safe, he might have felt comfortable doing that. But as soon as he sees that mover going right to left across that threshold, he ducks right into cover. That's a human response that I think is well animated there.
To the back of the house where there's really nowhere to escape.
There's such a fear. So you're standing in front of the door.
Shoulder tap.
Kick down.
So he kicks the door, he goes in, he's looking straight to his corner. We'll see where he goes next. I'm curious if he's going to begin collapsing that sector or if he's going to focus on that corner, like how well this is illustrated here.
Down that door, and there's a sense of relief.
Two men didn't go left, so they're blind to the left right now.
You only feel it if you survive.
Shame they missed that opportunity to get it right. Rhino mounts and J-arms, for the PVS 14s or PVS 7 Deltas. 203 on that M16. He's clear. They're both clearing with their finger on the trigger. Swept him with his muzzle.
We can tell you our stories.
Swept him with his muzzle again. Didn't buy the corner.
We can show you our scars. But some moments must be experienced.
Too close to the door, standing in front of the threshold.
I think we've done a really good job of appreciating service members. I think we've done a very poor job of telling the actual story of what happened.
Okay, really touching trailer. I was impressed by a lot of what I saw. I appreciate that we got the human aspect as the focus of the trailer. We're telling the story of those who were there. I'm concerned, based off of all of the veterans featured, that we didn't have as much of a discussion with the civilians or adversaries who were impacted during the Second Battle of Fallujah. I'm curious to see how that story is told. I'd hate for it to be so Western-centric that the game catches a lot of flack for that choice. But it's too early to tell whether or not that's actually the case. Either way, the game itself looks gorgeous. It looks thematically like it is going to focus on kind of that gritty, personal nature of urban fighting and how challenging that sort of fighting was in Fallujah. I'm curious whether they are going to call this a tactical shooter or whether they're going to describe it as a story-driven campaign and what other game mechanics are going to be in it. Because from what I'm seeing, it looked much more like a story-driven campaign where you're experiencing this battle in the shoes of a U.S. Marine that's participating in it. And just based off like the movements of the characters that we were seeing, there's obviously some concerns with the choices they were making. But this is also the Marine Corps in 2004. They were not surprised to go fight. They'd been fighting in Afghanistan since 2001. But all the same, we're looking at just a conventional infantry Marines clearing houses in 2004. And so it's possible, of course, that they're not going to be perfect, as none of us are, but I would expect some of the basics like muzzle awareness, like finger off the trigger, like not flagging your buddy, like not standing in doorways. I would have appreciated if the developers had at least captured some of those elements a little bit better. All of that said, it's still too early to judge this game. I'm excited by what I saw in the trailer. I'm definitely going to buy it. I'm definitely going to play it. I'm probably going to like it. And I am glad that video games are being used as a medium to tell stories because they're powerful in that way. That's why one of the many reasons I love them. I'm Controlled Pairs, and I play the most immersive PC games in the world. This was 6 Days in Fallujah.